Hello, friends. When we read last, Ralph had gone to school with Ryan, and they were talking about studying mice and possibly having Ryan create a maze for Ralph. Chapter 4, Life at School. Dusk began to fall in room 5, making the inside of Melissa's boot even darker, when suddenly Ralph heard music. The lights were turned on, and a man with a transistor radio fastened to his belt came into the room and lifted chairs onto tables. He began to sweep with a wide broom, while the radio poured forth sad songs about lonely highways, broken hearts, and jail. The songs made Ralph feel gloomy, as well as sulky. He began to feel sorry for himself. The long hall, so perfect for motorcycle riding, was dark and empty. His heart was broken over the loss of his motorcycle, and he might as well be in jail as in this old boot. When the man swept his way to the back of the room, he unexpectedly set Melissa's boots upright, side by side, tumbling Ralph down to the foot, where he sat trembling with nerves and self-pity, until his ears told him the man had replaced the chairs on the floor, turned off the lights, and left. Now remember, Ryan took his motorcycle because he wanted to make sure that he did the maze for him. Because he was a mouse, Ralph found sleeping at night almost impossible. Without the grandfather clock to mark the hours, the night seemed endless. Why should I sit here in this smelly old jail of a boot when everyone else is so mean to me? Ralph asked himself, and with the cruelty of the world as an excuse for breaking his promise to Ryan, he used his sharp claws to climb the boot lining. Quickly, he leapt out and squeezed under the door of room 5. Nobody was going to stop him from exploring the Irwin J. Sneed Elementary School. After a long and wistful look at the lonely highway of the hall, Ralph found exploration more interesting and profitable than he had expected. In room 4, he discovered strange-looking pictures spread out on the floor beneath the blackboard. They were made by gluing different kinds of seeds to heavy paper and had been left on the floor to dry. Ralph made a nutritious meal of split peas, rice, and lentils before moving on to another room, where he found an open jar of library paste. Delicious. Another room, furnished with long tables and benches, was near a kitchen where Ralph chewed into a bag of sugar and enjoyed a fine dessert. After this gourmet meal, Ralph walked rather than scampered down the hall, that perfect place for riding his motorcycle if Ryan had not been so mean, to a room with a carpet and bookshelves about the walls. A boring place for a mouse, Ralph decided, until he discovered something interesting on a bottom shelf behind a big desk. It turned out to be a book, inside a bag made of 2 layers of brown paper. A tear in the outer layer revealed something unexpected in the lining. Ralph could not believe the treasure he had found. Between the layers of paper was a ready-chewed mouse nest. Ralph pulled out some of the nest to examine its delicate texture. First quality, grade A mouse nest. He made the hole in the bag still larger, crawled inside, and curled up in the coziest bed he had ever known. Ralph intended to rest there while he plotted to get his motorcycle away from Ralph, but his full meal made him drowsy, and instead he fell asleep. Awakening to the sound of school buses, he ran back to room 5 just in time as his former friend was hanging up his parka. Ralph ran up the leg of Ryan's jeans and onto his shirt. "You give me my motorcycle!" he demanded, trying to sound fierce. Ryan quickly faced the corner so no one could see Ralph. "Be quiet! You're not supposed to be here," he whispered. "Like I said, I'll give it to you after you run the maze." "Who says I'm going to run it?" Ralph was sullen about this whole affair. "I do." Ryan tried to speak without moving his lips. "If you want your motorcycle back." "Where is it?" Ryan wanted to know. "Right here." Ryan removed the motorcycle from his parka and placed it on one of his shirt pockets. "Now go back to your boot." "Don't call it my boot," said Ralph. "It's dusty and smelly." "Will you be quiet if I let you stay in my pocket?" "Sure." A shirt was warm and soft and had a good view of the classroom if a hole was nipped in the pocket. As he dropped Ralph into his pocket, Ryan said, "And another thing, don't chew any more holes in my pockets. Mom didn't like it when she saw holes in the new shirt I wore yesterday." "We'll see about that," thought Ralph, determined not to let the lub-dub of Ryan's heart lull him to sleep again until he figured out how to get the motorcycle back. For a better view of room 5, he bit a careful peephole, 1 thread down and 1 thread across in Ryan's pocket. Okay, we'll stop there for today, and tomorrow we'll do part 2 to see what happens.